What's up, guys? We're back live here on Pop Culture Warrior. Um, I know you guys are excited. I know you're excited. I'm very excited. Oh goodness, I forgot to turn off Radar's cam. We're good. Uh, but while I push these buttons again because they can be silly sometimes. Yeah, what I was saying, I'm very excited today. I sat down to write my intro like I usually do, and I realized this is the most useless intro I have ever wrote. Um, Guys, it's one of the most memorable, easily identifiable Shield agents of all time. American actor, director, screenwriter, voice actor, not an LMD or evil version from the alternate timeline. Ladies and gentlemen, the very real Clark Gregg. Thanks for being on the show, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, I am super excited for this. I'm a huge fan. Obviously, I'm decorated, adorned with all these Marvel trinkets around me. But I'm also a huge fan of yours in a lot of the work you've
Oh,
done.
thank you.
So I really appreciate your time, and I'm not going to waste time here. I want to dive right into it. Now, obviously, everybody's here because they want to talk about Phil Coulson. They want to talk about Agents of Shield. They want to talk about the Marvel Universe. But as my guest, I always want to first kind of get to know the person behind the iconic characters. So first off, I know you have a new puppy, Lucy. How's that working out for you?
Lucy's the best. Lucy was adopted. She's a rescue who was found orphaned in Mexico. She was, I guess, she is now 8 months old, and she's been my companion throughout the pandemic. And she's fantastic. She may pay a little visit in a little while.
Fantastic. We love the puppies and the dogs here at the show. So very excited. So you okay? I'm gonna come right out of this. So you're a guy. You were born in Massachusetts. You
True.
moved from Rhode Island to Pennsylvania, Illinois, North Carolina, eventually settling down in New York City, and then further down the line, Los Angeles. Um, I saw an interview where you described yourself as a bit of a class clown in your early years, and I'm wondering, did moving around a lot kind of play a role into that, and that maybe that eventually led you to acting?
I think you're right. I think so. I don't know. There's a way where when you're always in a new town, you feel kind of uncomfortable, and at the same time, you want to make friends, and I guess that just leads to a lot of awkward jokes in different towns. And that's how I handle when I'm nervous. Is I cut up or make jokes, and you know, different places, different amounts of success. Certainly by high school, I think that might have been something I even was elected.
No, it makes sense. I as a young guy, I moved around a lot too, and I found myself, the fastest way to make friends is to make a fool of yourself. It's to be that guy that everybody loves to be around. He's gonna make them laugh. So, and I did actually find myself in theater because of it. I joined the military short after high school, but that's a whole different story. But I saw that and I thought to myself, like that's something that I can understand. Certainly. Um, I want to read this to you, and this is for those that maybe are not as educated in Clark Gregg, the actor slash screenwriter slash director. Let's see, you played the role of Hank slash Henrietta in The Adventures of Sebastian Cole, which received an Independent Spirit Award nomination. You had your feature film directing debut in Choke, which premiered 2008 Sundance Film Festival, was awarded a special jury prize. You directed a number of plays, including Distant Fires, which was nominated for Drama Desk and Outer Critics Awards in New York. And your Los Angeles production, starring Samuel L. Jackson, won three LA Weekly Awards, including Best Direction, Best Ensemble, Best Play, and was nominated for four Ovation Awards, including Best Director. On top of all that, you got a Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actor in Avengers, and, in my personal favorite, you also won the Lip Sync Battle Challenge versus Haley Atwell. So, all that being said, all that, kind of success, all that kind of acclaim, how do you maintain this and I say this in the nicest way possible. This everyman kind of uh, 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 you're not Hollywood. You're just a guy. How do you do that?
No, I mean, that's just a put on. As soon as you mention the glorious victory over Haley Atwell, I feel really arrogant and smug and
Do you still have the
Hollywood.
belt?
Oh yeah, I got the belt. Got the belt. 100%. I got the belt. It's a very heavy belt.
I
Um,
would imagine so.
it was a really spectacular belt. They didn't give it to me that night. They were like, "No, we're going to send it to you," and I was like, "That's been around too long. I'm never going to see that belt." And sure enough, it showed up in a very heavy package. You know, we'd had a dub smash war to raise money to fight bullying with the cast of Agent Carter, her and myself and my co-star on uh, Agents of Shield, Chloe Bennett versus Haley and James Darcy from Agent Carter, and we raised like $155,000 for some charities, but they won.
Mm.
They won. So there was a little bit of a grudge match for the lip sync battle. It was really fun.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, you play, and again, I don't seem, I don't want to sound insulting, but you play this nobody so well. Like you've done it. You've almost made a career out of it. That it's this guy that is unassuming, but then there's a power, there's a strength, there's a charm, there's a leading quality. Like I mean, just as a fan, it's impressive. I appreciate what you're doing.
Nobody does nobody like this nobody. Um, yeah, I don't know. There certainly seems to be a theme of that. Um, I it was one of my favorite moments was when we were shooting Iron Man. At first, he really did seem like just some guy who worked for some strange bureau who was just kind of bothering Tony Stark. And then at a certain point, it was made clear to me, like, oh no, no, that's his cover.
Mm.
That's a persona he's playing. This guy has seen and heard things that would blow your mind. He's, he's Nick Fury's right hand man. And I was like, oh, what? Okay, that's what I've been playing, but okay, it's good to know.
That's the perfect thing. You didn't know, so you can't put that into the character. He doesn't know, and that's just how good he is. It's amazing. You're also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I again, how, why, what drew you to that? How did you get involved in that?
Um, well, I I can get a little. I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of nervous energy, and if I don't if I don't work out really hard as soon as I wake up, I'm kind of a mess the rest of the day. So I've always been looking around for different ways to get really extreme exercise, and the only way I can do it, because I think I'm not super disciplined really, is it has to be really fun. And so for years I played basketball at 6 in the morning before I would go off to shoot Shield. And uh, uh, David Mamet, I was doing a movie of his called Spartan, and he had started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He said, your guy would know this.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, so let's go down there. And I went down there and met this amazing guy, Renato Magno, uh, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend from Brazil. And I flipped for it. It was just one of the hardest physical activities you could possibly do, an incredibly effective form of self-defense where you don't really have to hurt anyone to
Right.
neutralize them. And also a spectacular chess match with the really good guys. And I've been going for years. I haven't been able to go during COVID because the basketball and jiu-jitsu went out the window
Right.
once they shut down all those gyms. So I picked up surfing.
Right, right. Yeah, it was one of the things I was going to ask. You're also a really big proponent of mental health. I've seen you talk about it. I've seen you discuss, anxiety and depression and these things, and especially in these times, like you said, losing those activities that are pivotal that we enjoy. How are you? And again, you cut me off with you got jumped ahead of me. What I was going to say is surfing. I know you recently took it up. Is it always about kind of challenging yourself? Because I know a big part of mental health is like not being complacent, not getting into a rhythm or lulling yourself into this false sense of like I'm fine. Like you seem to always be challenging yourself. Is that a part of like your mental health regimen?
Um, yeah, I would say that's a part of it. I mean, I literally feel the physical difference. If you ever struggle with anxiety, which I do at times, you quickly learn the mind body thing. It's really one thing. If you played sports ever, I don't know if you act. They're very the you feel the ways that your physical stuff impacts what's going on in your psyche or your mind. And uh, when I when I have really pushed myself, certainly there's something in any of those extreme sports or most sports where you really have to focus on what you're doing and it lets you forget about the things you're worrying about for a little bit. But if I've run really hard and played basketball or paddled through a bunch of waves for 2 hours or, sparred with somebody on the mat or 10 people, um, the physical change in my body, it's like it discharges anxiety or worry, or it just sends me into the day in a much calmer place. I talk a lot about mental health stuff because I always felt like I was immune to a lot of that stuff. I got nervous sometimes before I'd go on stage for sure, but I liked extreme stuff. I liked challenging stuff. I liked doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, things that scared me. And then at a certain point, I started to have strange kind of anxiety attacks out of nowhere in my 50s, really. And I didn't understand what was going on. And once I figured out that's what was going on, and that at very odd times, my body would start to act as if it was in a plane that didn't have any more gasoline. It was going down. And no matter how much the world or my thoughts or anything weren't really lending themselves to that this physical fear mechanism was taking over and that I needed help to get control out of that. I realized that the more I thought about it, I thought, wow, well, if this can hit me, this can hit anybody.
Yeah.
And the fact that we treat our physical health as something that requires maintenance, understanding your particular body, what its strengths are, what its weaknesses are, where it needs help. For those things, to think that your mental health doesn't require the same kind of maintenance feels like just a silly idea.
Yeah.
And I worked with some of my cousins through my marriage, my recently ended marriage, but with my dear friend Jennifer Gray. Her family works with an organization I think you might know about called Operation Mend.
I do.
And Operation Mend does amazing work healing the physical wounds of veterans, but also the PTSD and the mental trauma. And that's just become something that, I think especially for men, but not exclusively to men, it's not something people feel comfortable talking about. And it's just been in recent years that, some players, Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, a bunch of people in the NBA, men have become more comfortable going, look, this happens to me. I don't want to lie about it.
Right.
Because the more you treat it as some shameful secret, the more difficult it is to kick. So for my own therapy, I've just chosen to say, look, this is something that I deal with sometimes. It's really uncomfortable. I don't like it. But the more I take part in the shame thing around it, the more I perpetuate a thing, and that lets other people stay in silence. And I think it's really something that within 5 or 10 years, we will all be saying, why weren't we talking about this?
Right. No, absolutely. And I thank you for, being on your platform, being on your pedestal, and being able to share this because, oh, there's Lucy. It is such a serious conversation. I'm a veteran. I was wounded in combat. I did take part in Operation Mend. It's an incredible program. And, I have PTSD, and I talk about that. I say I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety because the more that I can, I always say it's like shining a light on the boogeyman, right? In the dark, it's this big bad thing. You turn a light on and it's gone. And so being able to bring it out into the light really allows me to have some sort of peace, to connect with others, to share experiences. PTSD, we're understanding more and more every day, and we're getting better and better, but it sometimes takes the people in the spotlight to say, like, this is normal, this is okay, you should get help. Right now, the chat is lighting up with people saying, thank you for sharing. We understand. We're there. We've been there. So it's an incredibly powerful
I've had a
thing.
lot of people. I mean, I was very nervous about talking about it at first, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and say that that's they felt like they were alone with it, and it's something that when it happens to you, it's very often it happens whether you have anxiety or panic attack or depression. Um, it's very often when you're alone, and it feels very alone. So it's really important, I think, to you get a lot of things that are nice by getting to do some of the fun jobs I've done, and the least you can do with that what do they call it, platform, is to be able to reach out to other people. And frankly, it always makes me feel a little better. I had a lot of success using a technique, not exclusively, but using a technique called CBT. We're working with my anxiety. It was hugely successful for me, and I felt it very necessary to try to share that with some other people, see if they could get some of the same kind of relief. So you and so many veterans are contending with trauma, PTSD. Trauma is something we're starting to understand more, and I think many, many, many people, depending on just the sensitivity of their nervous system, have been through some form of trauma. And they're doing a lot of research now about the ways that it physically impacts your neurosystem. And, that's something that we need to be exploring more and take out of the shadows. You still, recently, during the playoffs, I'm a Clippers fan. Paul George was talking about how he was having trouble in one of the series because he was feeling anxious and depressed,
Right.
being in the bubble. And I think maybe it was lame Skip Bayless or somebody said, and maybe I don't know, maybe somebody else said that they kind of shamed him about it. Like, you're getting paid to play basketball,
Right.
man. Like, and it was just so stupid.
Yeah.
The guy's being open about what he's dealing with. First of all, we're all in a place where the world doesn't look like what we're used to. And you see you just walk out your door, and if you're in a place where people are intelligent, you see masks.
Yeah.
So you know that there's a threat. So everybody's level of vigilance is up. And like it or not, people are going through some form of anxiety or depression. If you're sane, you're feeling a little anxious and depressed these days as we hope to get through this together, and you try to show up for each other. So it's really a great moment for everybody to come together, because I think so many people are struggling with their mental health right now. And that doesn't mean you're crazy. That's ridiculous. It means one of your forms of health, your mental health, needs some special attention right now.
Absolutely.
And, to do anything else is just silly.
I heard a guy say once, he's like, you'll exercise your leg groups and your back groups and your bicep groups, but nobody wants to exercise that brain. They don't want to, do the things that are required for that mental exercise and to strengthen it. I spoke to a couple veterans who said that people who are, and it's lessened over the last couple of weeks as certain parts of the country are being lifted, but at the height of this, at the height of the panic and the anxiety, people were afraid to go outside. And I had veterans friend going like, finally, they understand what we feel every day. The people that suffer from severe PTSD, who struggle to get out the door, who struggle to interact with
I
other
think
people.
a lot of veterans lived in a terrible amount of shame about it. You know what I mean? Because so many people were coming home and going through that. And there's still, this comes from a kind of macho culture. I've grown up in various forms of macho cultures,
Sure.
with sports and stuff. And you kind of go, you need to come together and go, this is real. I didn't choose it. I'm not asking for it to be here. It's not kooky thoughts, although it can be. Physically, my body's in trouble right now. And it just happens, and you don't choose it. And, the only thing to do is support people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you so much for again, bringing this to light, because it is a very serious thing. And whether it's male, female, young, old, it doesn't matter. It's we should all take part in our own mental health and when you're going through something, say something, and it's okay to share those kind of things. But all right, we'll lighten the topic. I know this is very heavy for some of the people here that wanted to talk things. One last question before we dive into like a bunch of Marvel stuff. You kind of returned to theater, which you have a big background in this last February, and is this something that you've kind of been dying to get back into? Is this a return? Are you gonna dabble? Are you gonna stay a while? How do you feel kind of wanting to get back into theater?
So it's my first love. The first thing I did out of college was form a theater company in New York with David Mamet and William Macy and a bunch of people, and it was just a great time. And we didn't spend our first 5 years out of college kind of hustling to get a commercial audition. We moved around Chicago, Vermont, New York, and did 20 plays, and really just tried to get our 10,000 hours. And there's something about live theater that's a lot like live music.
Mm.
It's just happening for the first time there, and it's really a thrill. And it's something that I miss a lot because my company's in New York, and I've been here in LA doing these jobs and raising a family. But that said, I was thinking, yeah, now that this TV show's over, I'd really like to do that. But then my pal David Mamet said, look, I've got this new play. Do you want to do it for 3 weeks?
Mm.
We're going to start next week. And I was like, oh, yeah. Well, then, yes, I would. And so I got to do it with a bunch of people, including William H. Macy and the amazing Rebecca Pidgeon and a bunch of terrific actors. And we did it for 2 or 3 weeks. And then COVID happened and we all went inside.
Mm. Do you see a return? I mean, not to spoil what you're working on.
I'd love to. I don't know what's next. I was just starting to kind of sort all that out after the season 7 of Agents of Shield wrapped. When this all happened, I definitely hope to be doing some plays either here in LA or in New York. All kinds of stuff. I don't know.
I don't mean to paint you in a picture. We're not setting up your calendar.
No, you're not.
I do have a question from the comment, and I'm only going to mention it because I thought it was hilarious. Leon says that since you're into the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you should fight me for charity, or that I should fight you for charity, and I would happily I would get beat up by you for charity for sure.
You never know. I'm really old.
I mean, here, I like to joke. Anytime I'll play, let's say like ping pong or something competitive with anyone else, I always like to joke. I say, this is a lose-lose situation for you because A, you're going to get beat by a disabled veteran, or B, you're going to beat up on a disabled veteran. So this is really not
Yeah.
a...
Sorry, Leon. Next question.
There you go. All right. So finally, we're going to get into some of the stuff that I know everybody's dying to hear about. And let me tell you something. Over the last 7 days, I have been inundated with emails and comments and my goodness on social media about all the questions I should ask you. So I tried to comb through them. I know you're probably at this point, my goodness, sick of hearing some of these questions. And I tried to pick the best ones for you. So right out the gate, I'm not sure. Maybe you're aware, maybe you're not. But they announced that Samuel Jackson's getting a Disney Plus show. He's getting a Nick Fury TV show. Is there maybe some talks about Coulson and Fury getting back together?
Sure, it seemed like a good idea, doesn't it? But I haven't heard anything. Been sitting here in my house.
Okay. I'll mention.
I haven't heard anything good. I did read that.
You did? Okay. Well, I did.
It's hard to know. They've brought in the current. It's finally unified the Marvel world. There was a kind of Marvel TV and Marvel movies for a while.
Right.
They haven't shown a kind of post Avengers Coulson in that world yet. So I don't know. I don't know what will happen. I feel grateful for how much I've gotten to play the guy. I can't wait to watch Sam Jackson, who's one of my favorite actors, play Nick Fury in that show on Disney Plus.
Okay. I won't press. I know Disney is, there's only so many things you can say and you're allowed to say when you're allowed to say it. I won't say anything. I will say there's a great website, Geekosity, that does these kind of scoops, and they got insiders, and there was a rumor, a scoop that Chloe Bennett was actually being asked to to maybe bring because we know at the end of Agents of Shield she's off in space, and that the last we saw Nick Fury he was in space, and so I don't know, maybe there's something there. You guys are buddies, right? You guys talk, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I heard that's happening.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Exclusive, confirmed. Got it. Thanks. Moving on. Checks in the mail. All right, all right. So, I mean, obviously, everybody like the chat's going crazy right now because they dying to see you back. I feel like it's like I just got out and they're trying to pull me back in already. But that's how you're so beloved by the fans, and to this day, hashtag Coulson lives is still trending. Like it's still a big deal. There's thousands upon thousands of pictures and comments and posts about it because you're such a beloved character and such importance to this Marvel
Really,
universe.
I think not by everybody.
Everybody I've come across.
That's nice.
So I found this interesting factoid, and I thought I don't know if you know it or if you'd like to know it, but you are the only actor who has appeared in productions, film or TV, set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from its launch in Iron Man continuously without ever taking a year off. So you're the only MCU character, film and TV, that has from day one every year been in either our screens or our TVs without ever taking a break. So there you go. How's that make you feel?
That's that's why I'm exhausted. That's a huge honor. I feel like Robert's been doing. Chris Evans has not taken a year off, has he?
Well, we're talking from Iron Man 1 to now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the only you have the distinction.
I'll take it.
That goes right up there on the mantle with the lip sync battle trophy, the longest running Marvel universe or Marvel Cinematic Universe character. So let me ask you, and we kind of joked about this, but Disney is notorious and Marvel is notorious for like wanting to keep secrets under wraps and going through great lengths to make sure that that things aren't spilt. What for you, because obviously you were involved since Iron Man all the way through the end of season 7 of Agents of Shield, what was like the hardest secret to keep for yourself? Something that maybe you even almost or did slip out?
That Thanos is still alive.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
No, I think it was tough. It was tough to know. It was tough to. I knew for over a year that Coulson did not live.
Mm.
That was a tough one to hold on to. Just because there were rumors were out, and I think I actively lied about it because I didn't want to spoil the thing.
Well, I mean, it's not lying. It's holding up to your contractual obligations.
Yeah, exactly. It's trying to keep from getting killed off forever.
Yeah. Okay. So you knew what? I mean, I can't imagine what that conversation was like to go like, hey, you know how you're the glue that holds all this together? Yeah, we're gonna kill you now. What was that like?
Well, I mean, some of your fans will have heard this story before, but I was there at Comic-Con to do the panel for Thor, and it was the first time they'd asked me to do one of those panels because Coulson had a bigger part. And backstage, Joss Whedon walked in with what I realized was the cast of the Avengers. That was going to be the big surprise they put on stage. He came over and said, "Oh, hey, listen, I'm writing a really good part for you in the Avengers. Would you like to go on stage with us?" And as a kid who read comic books as a kid, I just almost dropped dead right there on the spot. But I said, yeah, I'll do that. Next thing I know, I was standing out there. I think between Jeremy Renner and Scarlett Johansson, a few minutes later, and a couple of weeks later, maybe months, like a month later, I got a call saying, "Listen, Joss wasn't kidding. You have a really great part in the Avengers."
Wow.
From Kevin Feige, I believe it was, head of Marvel. And I said, amazing. I can't believe it. I thought he was exaggerating. He said, no, it's really great. What happens to you is what brings the Avengers together. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, really? Oh, well, it's been a hell of a run.
oh wow.
um, so that's how I found out about that.
Yeah, and how soon? Because I can imagine, obviously, Agents of Shield came pretty soon after Avengers. How soon from that conversation do you find out? Like, oh, no, wait, we got an idea to bring you back.
I was really dead. It was clear I was really dead, and I was making a little indie film, this other film called Trust Me, and I get a call saying from I was from Jeff Loeb and later from Joss saying, we think you may not be so dead. And I knew Jeff Loeb because I had done a Ultimate Spider-Man
Right.
animated show, and that's what Marvel TV had been making up until that point. And they pitched me the idea of the first season of Agents of Shield, and I said, "Wow, okay, that's an amazing way to bring him back." And
That's
boom.
incredible. Incredible. I mean, yeah, that's it's a hashtag Colson lives, man. It's a real thing. Is the power of the
Well,
internet.
yeah, that's the part I left out. That's the really lucky part was that they said, listen, people are so the test screenings, people are so sad when you get killed, and I was like, are they? Because I'm a little obnoxious as this guy, and they said, no, they really are, and I said, oh, okay, great. They said, we're going to be really sad when you're dead, and I was like, I still have my doubts, and then when the movie opened and people started posting hashtag Colson lives, from all around the world, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I was so moved by that they cared about this guy that much.
Yeah, it's incredible, and actually, this perfectly leads into my next question, which was, you know, you've now in the Marvel universe anyway, and in some of your other films and stuff, you've built a reputation of dying and coming back, kind of. So like, what is the challenge? Because I'm you played Coulson for a number of years. You've fleshed out this character. We've given him a backstory. We learned all this about him, and then season 5 comes. They write you off into the sunset, and then you guys get the 2 more seasons pick up, and it's like, well, what's gonna happen now? And then they bring in Sarge, and then spoilers alert. After that, they bring in the LMD version. Like, how do you, as an actor, how do you, I don't know, find the essence of a character, but as someone else, you're a guy playing another guy. Like, how do you go about that?
No, it's a really good question, man. A lot of those characters they had a kind of rough idea at the beginning of the season, and Sarge was a guy who didn't even know his own story. So it felt off balance. We just would figure things out about him as we went. And then for season 7 to come back as LMD Coulson, who never wanted to be an LMD, that was really fun because after being this other guy for a while, and also being a Coulson who was dying in season 5, he got to be it was really fun to be LMD Coulson.
Yeah, the Coulson 2.0, the upgrade.
Yeah.
I find it, and God, I can't be the only one, but I find it funny, almost a parallel of LMD Coulson with like Captain America, in that they're both these characters that came back to life. They have these superhero powers, so to speak, and they're clearly this inspiring leader, role type. And so for Coulson to be the big Captain America fanboy, I wonder if that's a part of kind of playing it out,
No, it's a really good point. I hadn't really thought of that. In fact, this must be why people keep mistaking me for Chris Evans all the time.
Yes.
Anything that makes Coulson feel like any parallels with Cap, I think he's okay with.
Yeah. No, it's an incredible. I for those that don't really know, and I understand, like, the show might have ended at season 5, and so they kind of bookend it, and then they got picked up, and then like I can imagine that's got to be exhausting to be like, let's do a send off, and then nope, we're back, and like, okay, let's do another send off. I really have to say that the first ending, the Coulson ending, was beautifully done, and then kind of the series ending officially. Um, Honest to God, and I've watched a lot of TV. It is hands down one of my all-time favorite kind of finales, and just such a great way to end a show, to pay tribute to these characters, and to not tie it up in such a neat bow that it's like, well, they're all happily ever after, but that they all have these continuing stories, and there's so many more adventures to come. I loved it. I think it was phenomenally well done from everybody. So
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I think our writers did a really good job of kind of tying it all up, as you said, but without tying it up too neatly, so that people are going their separate ways, but they have always had this time together, which I think is very similar to what we were feeling at the time.
yeah, I think it's a similarity of life, right? We form these groups, whether it's high school, whether it's a job you work, whether it's a sports team you play. You form these groups. You become, as a soldier, you form these groups, these attachments, and then you continue on. You go about your life, and you stay in touch as you do. Not as much high tech gadgetry as you guys have, but we try to stay in touch. And but I think it was such a good similarity to what we go through as people, and that we form these families, these cliques, these groups, and then we part ways, but we hope that everybody's doing well. It's such a
Correct.
good thing. I had a question come in about, you obviously showed a lot of skill with weaponry and with kind of the bureaucratic kind of walk and act. Like, did you ever get to like train with real federal agents or things like that? Get a sense of them?
Oh yeah, we did a bunch of. I had done a bunch of training for different movies over the years, and had even done I think it was like a 2 week actor boot camp at Fort Benning and Ranger School there, um, for this movie We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson and John
Oh
Hamm and
yeah,
a bunch of people, and
great movie.
I loved it. It was so much fun, really hard, and so I knew how to do some of that stuff. But then they brought in really great people to train us. Um, uh, Former Navy SEAL guy, Joel Lambert. He really helped us try to get our weapon stuff, and they also always had consultants around to kind of keep us keep us looking like professionals, and you get a little better at it as time goes by.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed too. Sorry, throwing back to your Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There was an episode you did like a flying leg takedown, like a triangle choke with your
Oh yeah,
legs.
triangle on Con McLaughlin.
Yes, that was. I mean, that was phenomenal. Did I want to assume that was you, right? I didn't get Hollywood faked
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
did
they were
you?
always asking me. The stunt guys, a lot of them do jujitsu too, and they knew I like to try to fit some in every once in a while to kind of be a proponent of the sport. Um, so they would look for places here and there where I got to do a little bit of a jujitsu move.
Yeah. No, no Melinda May by any way, but
No,
you had some good action in there. Let me ask you this, kind of a silly question, but have you seen, like, do you have a favorite? I don't know, collectible, a toy of Phil Coulson? Is there something that you saw that you're just like, oh my God, I love that? Like,
well, I do. I do. Wish I had it here. I don't. Um, I have a I have a hot toy, which is a really spectacular 1/6 action figure of Coulson. But then the great the great the great people at Hot Toys, they uh, they made me a special thing, which was a full Hulkbuster Tony Stark armor with Phil Coulson inside, and that's when uh, I'm trying to find a picture of it for you.
oh yeah, that's incredible. I'd love to post that. No, I'm sure people are gonna go like, where can I get one? That's the next hot item that you can limited edition collector's item. Um, do you have okay? You've done well here. Let me share a story with you. I kind of teased this out on social media, and obviously I'm sure you won't remember it. This was New York Comic Con. We've actually met in person. New York Comic
Oh,
Con.
really?
Yes, this was 2000, would have been 2014, 2015, if I remember correctly. But you were at New York Comic Con. You were doing signings. They had the sports car, Lola. They had your car right there in front. You were doing signings, and I was actually leading a group of wounded veterans, and I was showing them the con. I'm a frequenter. These guys were new at it, but I was kind of showing them around, and they had heard, oh my God, Clark Gregg's going to be doing these signings right here on the main floor. This wasn't in the autograph section. This was the main floor of Comic Con, and everybody wanted to get in line, but these are guys that had back problems, leg problems, hip problems, and couldn't stand in a line, and not to mention suffering from PTSD, and big crowds can be a little bit difficult sometimes. And so I had this idea. I talked to the security, and what I told him was, look, whoever that last guy in line is, let's say pink shirt guy, that guy, when he gets to the front, we'll stand over here to the side. You just let us in. We'll have our turn, and we'll move on. Like, we'll stand off to the side. We can't be compacted in there, and these guys are having trouble standing and things. And the guy goes, okay, hold on a second. And I watched as he went, and I'm sure he talked to more security, and then they kind of went up and they talked to you. And the next thing I know, they're going like, hey, come up here. And they actually kind of like made us cut the line, and you saw us first, and you saw these wounded veterans first, and you signed everything for them. And I just wanted to say I wanted to say thank you for that, because you made these guys experience.
Oh,
It was the
no,
happiest day.
that's one of the. I mean, honestly, from the minute they brought this TV show in, Phil Coulson was a guy who'd been essentially KIA, and was then brought back against his will. And the whole first season was about a guy who's got implanted memories, unspeakable trauma from what's been done to him. And I from that moment on, I felt like that's who he represented, was wounded warriors, essentially, and trying to come back from that.
Yeah.
And so it's just an honor.
Wow.
It's just an honor when guys like you and your crew show up, and we get to, in any way, say thank you.
It was great. So in that mindset, like, have you ever had any memorable kind of fan interactions at these? Because I know the events can get crazy. I've seen some wild pictures. So anything that stands out in your mind as far as crazy interactions?
Yeah, there've been a few, but they're also kind of flattering. People want to get a tattoo of your signature.
Yep.
I try to talk them out of it, and I'm like, I might be super unpopular next year. I wouldn't be surprised. People get very excited. It's what I love about it, and what I love when you go to a con, whether it's in San Diego or New York, is the stories mean something to people the same way that a lot of stories mean something to me, the way that I geek out when I see people from my favorite shows. So you realize that they're kind of excited as much about seeing the character as they are about seeing, you, the actor.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a really fun thing.
Yeah. That makes my heart feel good. Something we've talked about a lot on this show is how obviously COVID has changed everything, right? And this is a very fun show, very lighthearted show. I mean, obviously there are people dying, and there's very seriousness, but it's like, well, how has this affected pop culture? How has this affected the entertainment industry? And one of the things that I've always, maybe optimistically, was like, yes, this shut everything down, but this is maybe giving writers more time to write and be more creative. They're not being rushed by deadlines and timelines. Like, do you think that coming out of this, we could almost see maybe like a renaissance of this good material, kind of, flooding the market? Like, do you feel like this is a positive that we could come from with new ideas and new stuff?
Well, I mean, I work as a writer. I've been writing during this time, and if I'm any indication, no. Just because there's so much, I don't know, there's so much psychic noise. There's so much, I find it so difficult to focus. I got so much stuff I'm dealing with personally. It's hard to really feel super productive on the one hand. But yes, on the other hand, I think the ramifications of this year off, let's hope it's a year, where people are forced to stop what they're doing for the most part, change their life, not interact as much. And also recognize how much we're connected. Some people did a irresponsible wedding, maybe in Illinois, and 100 people got COVID from this wedding, and 6 or 7 of them died who weren't even at the wedding.
Mm.
So it just shows you how much we're connected. But I also think, I don't know, there's a lot of sadness. There's a lot that's really hard about this time, I think, for so many people. My daughter is 18 years old. She didn't have a prom. She didn't have a graduation. Oh. She's starting college online. She's dealing with a lot. But at the same time, I think people are really asking questions they might not ask, and really looking at their lives and what matters to them in a way that they wouldn't have if they hadn't been forced into this stasis. So I think there will be beautiful things that come out of this and changes. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And maybe from people other than me, a tremendous amount of new material.
That's the hope. That's the hope that we'll see a silver lining at some point from this cloud. And actually, speaking of your daughter, like I've seen, obviously, get spread quite a bit. These TikTok videos and Vine videos of you guys dancing and doing Kardashian quotes and these things. Like, is that you don't seem to be embarrassed much. You seem to just go right with it.
I mean, I've done so much embarrassing stuff at this point. Nobody thinks I'm cool. What am I? She wants to do one of these things. It's so fun. I love doing them with her. She's a spectacular person and really funny. And if we have to memorize some Kardashian dialogue, I'm down.
It's great. No, I'm not a new dad. I have a 3-year-old, but seeing stuff like that again, we talked about hearing you share about your anxieties and things like that, but then seeing you spend your time with your daughter and being such a great dad, like it makes me go like, yes, like that's who I want to be. Like I want my son to grow up and we can have fun and we can do these things. So you're an absolute great representation for men and women and just thank you. You let me ask you this, because you've done the writing, you've done the directing, you've done the acting. It's long history that directors tend to like hide Easter eggs in their own movies, in their own TV shows, things that maybe tie to other projects they've worked on or things that they really love. Have you ever hidden some things? Is there things we should look out for?
I don't know how your brain is doing during the pandemic, but I might have. I don't know. I can't remember anything. I'm really confused a lot of the time. I bump my head a lot. I really feel like I did. I really feel like I hid some secret stuff in Choke, and I think I hid some stuff in the second at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode I directed, but I'm gonna have to get back to you on that when the pandemic's over.
I'm sure there's a Clark. I think we have Clark Gregg University in the chats right now, so I'm sure they could school me on all the ins and outs of everything that I'm asking.
Yep, she knows more about me than I do.
I've seen the video. She's a wonderful person. We've communicated online. When she heard that I was doing this, she reached out, and wonderful person. Let me ask you. So, you got to kind of jump from TV back into the movies with Captain Marvel, and obviously, how can I say this politely? They de-aged you because this is set in the 90s. How dare I? What was maybe not the experience of acting it, because I can assume it. You don't really feel like they're de-aging you when you're acting it, but seeing it, what was that like? Seeing yourself, not really yourself, but past version of yourself.
Yeah, I never looked quite like that guy. They definitely used some old pictures of me and to kind of composite these versions. It was cool. I mean, I liked it. It was weird to act with like dots on your face and go, I wonder what I'm going to look like during this scene. But it was really kind of a younger Phil Coulson than it was a younger Clark.
Right. I can see that. I mean, so you were happy with it. You're not angry at any of the animators and CGI guys for what they did?
No, God, no, no, please make me look a lot younger. Why? No, why, I have a lot more hair.
Yeah.
No, I sent them flowers.
Because I mean, there's been a history of actors. There have been scandals involving CGI and it not going over so well. But I thought they did a really Sam Jackson especially. They did a pretty darn good job of making you forget that, oh, I'm not looking at the person that's acting. Really, I'm looking at a version of them, a digital version of them.
Yeah,
It was really great.
exactly.
Um, a big question that kept coming up from a lot of people is that, you know, as the director, as the writer, as the star of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., were there ever any stories that you wanted to tell, maybe that you pitched that didn't stick, or storylines that ended too soon? Like, was there anything that you felt kind of got left on the table at some point in the series?
Um, Boy, they really, I felt like they really had time travel and in the past and the framework and LMDs and Ghostwriter. There's always things that I was interested in. That probably wouldn't have been great stuff. Like I was very interested in what Coulson felt like as an LMD, and
Mm.
did it feel more like being human than he thought it would, or did he feel different? Just the existential stuff of what his soul was like right now in that form. I was kind of just more interested in exploring that, but I'm not sure that would have made a better TV.
I would have been interested. The How do I say this? The you've obviously had a lot of time playing this character, and I'm curious what you felt was Coulson's weakness. Right? Everybody knows great leader and strength and inspiring. What did you feel were his greatest weaknesses?
Um, Somebody pointed out how many of the really disastrous things that happened on Shield were a result of things that we did. Um, but I don't know about that. I don't know. I think like a lot of people, his weakness came from his strength. After he'd been killed off, when he came back, a lot of secrets had been kept from him, and he found it a little bit more difficult to keep secrets after that. And because he developed this, it was really a show about people who were so dedicated to serving this mission of protecting other people that they didn't have time for a real family, and they became a family of their own. And I think that's something that really hit him and gave him a kind of, I don't know, a kind of a care and a soft spot in a way that brought him to life as a human, but I don't think always it made it difficult for him to make some of the really hard decisions that I don't think Nick Fury would have had the same difficulty making.
Mm. Yeah, you mind if I take a crack at one of them?
Sure.
I noticed that a strength of his is that he never feels outmatched. He never feels out of his depth, and that ends up becoming a weakness because what was it? In Iron Man 1 against the Ironmonger, he's trying to just walk up in the place like no big deal, and
Yeah.
in Thor, you're going up against the Destroyer, like, hey, dude, I'm not, like, big metal thing falls out of the sky and just not phased. And then obviously Loki in Avengers, but thinking you had the drop on him, and so maybe thinking that he had it all under control might have been a weakness, maybe.
Possibly. I may differ with you slightly. I think that one thing Coulson really does well is he leads with some attitude.
Mm.
And I don't think it's necessarily representative of how scared he was to be going up against this Asgardian god of mischief. But if you're going to walk in there with some giant gun, no matter how scared you are, you got to act like,
You gotta own the scene.
give me an excuse. Please, give me an excuse to use this thing. I'm dying to see what it does. It's the psychological warfare
Right,
more
right.
than his actual mental temperature.
I like it. I'll take that. I'll bow to that explanation. Did you end up taking some stuff from set? You kept any personal items?
I know Disney would disapprove of that, of course.
If you were
Recently,
going
they were
to,
auctioning off a lot of the stuff from Agents of Shield, and I was like, oh, is this for charity? Turns out, no, it was for Disney.
yeah,
Um,
we discussed
but
this
I guess
earlier
if
in
the
the show.
theme park's closed, they're going broke. I might have grabbed the odd thing or two, not a lot, just a few things.
Yeah, the mementos.
I have a wonderful badge or two.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've earned it. You put in 7 years of hard work into this. You deserve a memento, a keepsake. You know,
I think so.
I never understood why they wouldn't allow it. I get it if they're like, oh, we're gonna put it in the Smithsonian for archival stuff, but if they're gonna sell it anyway, let the man have
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I think the first thing I saw, we talked about this earlier in the show, was Yo-Yo's gauntlets was one of the prized
Yeah.
items going for things, and I was like, oh, I think it should go to the actor. I mean, let them do what they want with it, but that's just me. There
I'm
was
not sure she loved those gauntlets.
probably not, but
There's things that are cool, like, Colson's synthetic, first Model 1 synthetic arm. But by the time you've got that thing getting squeezed on you every day for 3 or 4 months, you're like, I never want to see this thing again.
sure, sure. What was I want to ask the dumb question of like, what was the hardest part of doing this job of being Coulson? Was it waking up early? I don't know.
No, I kind of like to wake up early anyway. Something about California, you just wake up early. And my daughter was waking up early, so uh, I didn't mind that. The first 5 seasons when we were doing 22 episodes, uh, of an action show where there was fight rehearsal and stunts and green screen in addition to the dialogue scenes. Sometimes that by the time you got to episode 18 or 19, pieces of you started to fall off. It was a wonderfully fun grind, but it could be a bit of a grind. The last 2 seasons when we did 13, as the world's kind of moved into that kind of shorter episode season idea, that felt like a little bit better bite to chew.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I'm curious because I saw a picture, and this was at the unveiling of Stan Lee's foot and handprints, and
Mm-hmm.
you and Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, was were at the how do you end up at Stan Lee's big moment? How did that work out?
I had met Stan a number of times since the Spider-Man days, and uh, I just got a call saying, they'd like you to show up and say a few words. And I was like, for Stan Lee? Yes. And I was really honored. I'd grown up reading his comics, and he'd always been incredibly cool with me. And Coulson was one of the few characters who appeared first in films and then moved into the comics. And I hung out with him at Comic Con sometimes. And he just was a real gent, a really, really special guy. And after the show wrapped, they actually even asked me to host the kind of farewell for him in New York uh, on Broadway.
Hmm.
It was aired briefly, and it was really, I don't know. Anytime I interacted with him, I just couldn't believe I was even looking at him.
Yeah, I mean, incredible talent. And I'm curious, and I don't want to um, kind of pin you into because obviously Chadwick Boseman passed away, and was there ever you left the MCU at a certain point, you went into the TV stuff. Was there ever, I don't know, an actor or a character that you really wanted Coulson to go up against and kind of act off of?
I mean, a lot, really. There's so many amazing characters that came in, but, from Thanos to Vision, there's so many. But really, Chadwick. I
Yeah.
loved Black Panther. I love Black Panther so much. I mean, I love the Guardians too, for God's sake. But just Black Panther was a comic I loved, and what they did with it, and what he did, and what a cool guy he was. Uh, I was sad that I know that I won't ever get a chance to act with him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time um, just so many people felt the impact of such a loss all at once. You know, maybe when Kobe Bryant suddenly passed in the helicopter
Yeah,
crash, and just it was just such a shock wave that kind of like hit you and almost in waves and things, and it a tribute to his talent and what he brought. Um, have you ever, out of curiosity, obviously, you know, we're all mostly vets in this channel here. Have you ever done any kind of USO tours or think of, going out to check out some of the bases, things like that?
um, I'm trying to think. I've done individual events, but I have not been out on tour like that. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah. My people will reach out to your people. We'll get it set up. No problem.
Great, I would love that.
And I saw a video of you sneaking around, or maybe not sneaking around because you had a camera crew with you, but in Comic Con in like in costumes and stuff. Is that something you've done often, or was it just kind of that for that one time?
Um, oh, it was a gag. They wanted me to go around. Oh yeah, we were in weird costumes. That's right, me and Chloe, and talk to people. Um, it was very risky. We were like, hey, what do you think of Agents of Shield and blah 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 blah
Right.
blah. But it went pretty well. People were luckily we picked people who seemed to be big fans of the show.
I mean, how could you not? How could you not? Yes. So, yeah, we're out of time with you, man. This was absolutely incredible. I wanted to thank you so much for being here, and this has been just memorable. So thank you so much. I know the chat is
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to do, and maybe we'll cross paths through Operation Men stuff, or
absolutely.
let me know any ways that I can show up uh, for your tribe. I would be honored to.
No, we appreciate that. We are planning a lot of stuff with the station. It's a veteran military station, and so maybe who knows? Maybe down the road there's something we can work together on. It'd be an honor. So, thank you again.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely, guys. We're gonna go on a short break. We're gonna say goodbye to Clark. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys after the break.